they want to see non-U.S. involvement in this war. What's your message?
Trust in President Trump. President Trump has...
It's a cult. It's a cult.
According to brand new polling from Insider Advantage, a clear 54% will be enacted. Republicans in Congress have a mandate to deliver. And President Trump demands they send this historic bill to his desk for signature by Independence Day, July 4th. The American people are fully behind President Trump. According to brand new polling from Insider Advantage, a clear 54% majority of Americans approve of the job President Trump is doing. That's because this president is keeping his promises and taking action every day to improve their lives.
Before we continue, I just want to make sure. So we're done talking about the Epstein files then. We're going to talk about everything else except the Epstein files. When people were asked the question, do you approve or disapprove of the job Donald Trump is doing? Here's what they said. According to Fox, here's the poll they used, and you can see the comparison from the first term all the way down to the second term and the most recent, June 13th to the 16th. 46% of people approve of the job he's doing, and 54% of the people disapprove. But if you want to get into more detail, they ask strongly approve, somewhat disapprove, or strongly disapprove. Only 27% of the people that actually approve of what he's doing actually strongly approve of what he's doing. 19% somewhat approve of what he's doing. And then look on the other side, disapproval. It's almost a majority of the people that actually disapprove. They strongly don't like the direction that he's heading. On border security, he had a win. 53% approve, 46% don't. On immigration, he's in the negative. Foreign policy, in the negative. On the economy, he's way in the negative. And on inflation, it's even worse than that. Guaranteed those exact same numbers I just read out, Trump saw all that. He said the crooked Fox News polls got the election wrong. I won by much more than they said I would. And I've been biased against me for years. They are always wrong and negative. It's why MAGA hates Fox News. Even though their anchors are great, this has gone on for years, but they never changed the incompetent polling company that does their work. Now a new Fox News polls comes out this morning and give me a little more than 50% at the border. Yes, if you remember, they gave him about 53% at the border and 46% disapproval, but everything else was in the negative. So he says now a new Fox poll comes out that gives me a little bit more than 50% at the border, and yet the border is miraculously perfect. Nobody was able to come in the last month. 60,000 people came in with Sleepy Joe in the same month last year. I hate fake pollsters. One of the worst, but Fox will never change their discredited pollster. This was sent today, right around 9 o'clock.
The American people are fully behind President Trump. According to brand new polling from Insider Advantage, a clear 54% majority of Americans approve of the job President Trump is doing. That's because this president is keeping his promises and taking action every day to improve their lives. And passing this bill will help fulfill a number of President Trump's core campaign promises. Now, regarding the ongoing situation in Iran, I know there has been a lot of speculation amongst all of you in the media regarding the president's decision-making and whether or not the United States will be directly involved. In light of that news, I have a message directly from the president, and I quote, "Based on the fact that there's a substantial chance of negotiations that may or may not take place with Iran in the near future, I will make my decision whether or not to go within the next 2 weeks." That's a quote directly from the president for all of you today. So we'll kick it off for questions here in our new media seat. We have Eli Lake from the Free Press. Eli, go ahead.
A few weeks ago, Tucker Carlson reported on a meeting between the president, Mark Levin, and others at the White House. Is there a leak investigation, and can you say who else was in that meeting?
I'm not aware of a leak investigation at this time. I, for one, do not reveal details about the president's private meetings without his permission to do so. But certainly the president does not like when people leak. He takes that very seriously. This entire administration takes that seriously, and that's why you've seen at agencies some of the cabinet secretaries have been given the authority by the president to let go of staff who are engaged in such leaks, especially those that risk American national security.
What?
Didn't the head of defense accidentally leak battle plans on Signal, one to a reporter, and it also leaked that he was releasing sensitive information, battle plan information to his wife, brother, and I believe lawyer as well? The only way people found out that they were using Signal was because they accidentally let a reporter in. So clearly y'all don't take anything serious.
Go ahead.
Karoline, thank you. So Rhino warmonger Lindsey Graham, he recently called on the U.S. to go all in.
What a way to start a sentence. Hold on, hear that again.
Sure, go ahead.
Caroline, thank you. So Rhino warmonger Lindsey Graham,
Rhino
he recently called
warmonger.
on the U.S. to go all in.
That's quite the lead to a question.
Right. What's your message to everyday Trump supporters? Not the Tucker Carlsons or other big names, but everyday Trump supporters, grassroots who voted for President Trump to stop the wars, rejected this in the primary, going into another war with voting against Nikki Haley, and they want to see non-U.S. involvement in this war. What's your message?
Trust in President Trump. President Trump has.
It's a cult. It's a cult. There's no two ways about it. It's a cult. That is one of the most cultish answers I've ever heard in my life. Trust in President Trump. The guy led him with the question like, what do you have to say about the rhino warmongers that actually want involvement in Iran when a large percent of the American people were trying to just do what's best for America? That was a slogan, right? America first. So if America first is the slogan, why are you doing the bidding of a foreign government? So when he asked the question, what do you have to say about the people that want a war, in contrast to those that, you know, the average everyday person that just says, I don't want this country to be involved in another foreign war? What do you have to say? Trust in President Trump. The last time he said, just trust me, he said he can get the gas prices down. The last time he said, trust me, he said he can get the eggs prices down. The last time he said, just trust me, he said he could end the war in Ukraine and Russia in one day. The last time he said, trust me, he said he could end the war in Gaza and Israel in one day. The last time he said, trust me, he said 90 deals in 90 days. This is why they came up with the term taco, because every single time this man puts a stipulation down, we're going to tariff Canada. We're not tariffing Canada. We're going to take Greenland. We're not going to take Greenland. We're going to tariff China 100 and almost 50%. It's going to come down. He always chickens out. And so honestly, what it seems like now is the answer of just trust me. Why? What have you done for anyone to just trust you? What have you signed? You can't even get your own loyal followers like Marjorie Taylor Greene to agree with your bill.
Trust in President Trump. President Trump has incredible instincts, and President Trump kept America and the world safe in his first term as president in implementing a peace through strength foreign policy agenda. And with respect to Iran, nobody should be surprised by the president's position that Iran absolutely cannot obtain a nuclear weapon. He's been unequivocally clear about this for decades, not just as president, not just as a presidential candidate.
So it doesn't even matter that Tulsi Gabbard herself said that Iran is not building a nuke. That doesn't matter, right? Even though I have my own problems with her, she's still the director of national intelligence. So she's supposed to know this job. Her job is to know what is going on the ground. So if anyone is going to know anything about if Iran is building a nuke, she should know. So either she lied here or she's just being dismissed.
The IC continues to assess that Iran is not building a nuclear weapon, and Supreme Leader Khamenei has not authorized the nuclear weapons program that he suspended in 2003. The IC continues to monitor closely if Tehran decides to reauthorize its nuclear weapons program.
He said very close, and then he followed that up with saying, I don't care what Tulsi said. The she that he's talking about Tulsi. So I don't care what she said. I think they were close to having one. On what basis? From what intelligence?
President's position that Iran absolutely cannot obtain a nuclear weapon. He's been unequivocally clear about this for decades, not just as president, not just as a presidential candidate, but also as a private citizen. In fact, I have some quotes for you. In 2011, President Trump said America's primary goal with Iran must be to destroy its nuclear ambitions. We cannot allow this radical regime to acquire a nuclear weapon that they will either use or hand off to terrorists. In 2015, the president said the problem is that Iran poses an existential threat to Israel, our Middle Eastern allies, and the United States. And of course, the president has repeated that in his first term as president and his second term as president as well. That's why he was adamantly opposed to the disastrous Iranian nuclear agreement that was implemented by President Obama. And it's why he has given great latitude and given a lot of effort to achieving a diplomatic solution. But he's been very clear. Iran went for 60 days when he gave them that 60-day warning without coming to the table. On day 61, Israel took action against Iran, and as I just told you from the president directly, he will make a decision within 2 weeks.
Okay, so we're doing that. So 2011, 2015, 2016, and then 2025. Gotcha.
If not stopped, Iran could produce a nuclear weapon in a very short time. It could be a year, it could be within a few months.
They have the wherewithal, the stored up, preserved knowledge to make a bomb very quickly if they wanted to do it.
Iran is so dangerous. Weeks away from having the fissile material for an entire arsenal of nuclear bombs.
They're very close. They're 6 months away from being about 90% of having the enriched uranium for an atom bomb. Iran is gearing up to produce 25 bombs, atomic bombs a year, 250 bombs in a decade. Ladies and gentlemen, time is running out.
Iran will be capable of producing alone, without importing anything, nuclear bombs within 3 to 5 years.
Follow up.
Sure. Go ahead, Natalie.
Thanks, Caroline. Can you confirm whether Steve Witkoff has been in touch with the Iranian foreign minister? And does Witkoff plan to go to Geneva tomorrow for talks?
I am not tracking that on Mr. Witkoff's travel schedule, but
Okay, so what happened?
engaged with 6 rounds of negotiations with them in both indirect and direct ways.
Thanks, Caroline. Just to clarify the president's statement just now, when he says that he'll make a decision in the next 2 weeks, is he saying that if Iran does not come back to the negotiating table within the next 2 weeks, that the president will strike?
The president is saying that he will make a decision whether or not to go within the next 2 weeks. It's very clear and direct.
And is he seeing any signs of progress? He obviously is holding out hope for negotiations, but is he seeing any inklings of progress that give him that hope that talks are still possible?
Well, that's why he said in the statement that I just read for all of you, based on the fact that there's a substantial chance of negotiations that may or may not take place with Iran in the near future, he will make that decision within the next 2 weeks.
What makes him think there's still a substantial chance, is my question.
I'm not going to get into the reasoning and the rationale the president believes that, but that's his position, and he will make a decision within the next 2 weeks.
Caroline.
Sure.
Thanks, Caroline. President Trump has said previously in regard to Russia, he's used this phrase about 2 weeks several times in terms of like, we expect like a 2-week deadline and then you give another 2-week deadline.
Yep.
How can we be sure that he's going to stick to this one on making a decision on Iran?
Well, in those deadlines, as you've seen in respect to Russia-Ukraine, might I add, these are 2 very different, complicated global conflicts, as you know, that the president inherited from our previous incompetent president in the weakness of the previous administration. And the president has...
When in doubt, Biden is your out.
Spent a tremendous amount of time and effort cleaning up these crises that were caused by the last administration's just complete dereliction of duty on the world stage and American weakness. Now we have American strength again. With respect to Russia and Ukraine, because of that American strength and the president's leadership, we have seen these 2 sides engage in direct negotiations. And the last time the president said 2 weeks, you saw Russia and Ukraine have direct negotiations for the first time in years. And so the president is always interested in a diplomatic solution to the problems and the global conflicts in this world. Again, he is a peacemaker in chief. He is the peace through strength president. And so if there's a chance for diplomacy, the president's always going to grab it. But he's not afraid to use strength as well, I will add. Francesca.
Thanks, Caroline. What exactly would a deal with Iran need to entail?
No enrichment of a uranium, and it would absolutely not, Iran is not absolutely not able to achieve a nuclear weapon. The president has been very clear about that. And by the way, the deal that Special Envoy Witkoff proposed to the Iranians was both realistic and acceptable within its terms. And that's why the president is sent that deal to them.
To follow up on what you told Natalie, are the talks that the United States is currently having with Iran direct, or are those through intermediaries? And if so, which countries are acting as the intermediary right now?
Out of respect for the ongoing discussions and negotiations, I am not going to get into the details of them. We've provided you confirmation for now.
Yeah, because she knows exactly what would happen. They would skip past her and skip past Trump and just go directly to that person to figure out, hey, what are you talking to them about?
Go ahead. Sure, and then behind you too.
Oh, okay. So thanks. Sorry. On the topic of negotiations and talks, does the president have any hopes or specific expectations for the talks tomorrow between European foreign secretaries and their Iranian counterpart?
Well, certainly the entire world is on the president's side when it comes to the fact that Iran cannot obtain a nuclear weapon. This is something that pretty much all of all of humanity, except for the Iranian terrorist regime themselves, agree upon. And so the president expects that Europe will deliver that message directly to the Iranians.
Why does President Trump believe that this 90-day extension on TikTok will provide more runway, perhaps, than the previous extensions that have?
Maximum optionality. I know things are going day by day right now. The president wants maximum optionality. Is the possibility of the U.S. getting involved in regime change in Iran at all on the table at this point? And then I have one on
Sure. The president's top priority right now is ensuring that Iran cannot obtain a nuclear weapon and providing peace and stability in the Middle East.
The way that that's such an incompetent statement, given the fact of what we already saw Trump truth. If you want to negotiate that they can't have nuclear weaponry, fine. But this kind of a comment, this is regime change kind of talk. What do they want? Unconditional surrender. Unconditional surrender can only be met if you have actual boots on the floor to make sure that they are in submission. How else are you going to keep them in a matter of checks and balance? And then on top of that, he says, we know exactly where the so-called supreme leader is hiding. He's an easy target. But if safe there, we are not going to take him out, aka kill, at least for now. But we don't want missiles shot at civilians or American soldiers. Our patience is wearing thin. If anyone ever tells you that my patience is wearing thin, that means there's a limitation before I do the very thing I just said that I really don't want to do. So he says our patience is wearing thin. Our? Who's our? That is the talk of someone that wants regime change, not just disarmament. But here's the problem though, and this is something that Tucker Carlson, if you watch that interview with Tucker Carlson and Ted Cruz, this is something that Tucker actually points out when you're talking about Ted Cruz. You don't know anything about the people that you're looking to topple. Imagine now you take out the supreme leader. Then what? That's the question that everyone needs to follow up with. Then what? What happens after the supreme leader is gone? Because what normally happens in these areas is they don't just hold hands and sing kumbaya. Someone else will take its place. Please believe these areas of the world, they always have someone in the waiting just for that supreme leader to be knocked off his throne, so that they can take up the mantle. Or if not just them, a group will take up the mantle. As soon as that one person that they don't like steps down or is taken down, there's another one that just takes his place that normally, based on history, is normally worse. This is one of the things that people are scared of because they know that it could just be a 1 year to take over. But then after you take over, you're not leaving. There's not a chance you're leaving. What you're gonna have to do is keep on reinforcing more and more and more soldiers and investing more and more and more money. That is why they call these things forever wars. You don't leave once you're in. And everyone knows this isn't like what happened in the early 2000s. No. Iran is a much bigger place. Iran is much scarier. If you enter Iran, you're staying in Iran.
In providing peace and stability in the Middle East.
And on Medicaid, Caroline,
Sure.
the Senate put forward Medicaid provisions, particularly.
Okay, one more question.
When he left office than when he came back in after the past 4 years of complete incompetence by the previous president. Philip, go ahead.
Thank you, Caroline. Two quick questions. When the president says Iran is very close to a nuclear weapon, is he relying on U.S. intelligence or intelligence sharing from an ally to make that assessment?
It is a fact, and the United States government maintains this fact, that Iran has never been closer to obtaining a nuclear weapon.
And then if the U.S. were to take some type of military action, would the president go to Congress to seek war authority?
I'm not going to engage in hypotheticals. I gave you the statement from the president. He'll make a decision within 2 weeks.
Without Congress? All right, just want to go over that with y'all. Whatever your thoughts are, leave them in the comment section. If you guys enjoyed this video, don't forget to drop a like, and I will see you again on the next one. Be easy, y'all.